Hi everyone, welcome to this Litepanels live stream. My name's Ginny, I'm the marketing manager for Litepanels, and I'll be joined today by Michael Herbert, who's Litepanels product manager, for a conversation with British Director of Photography, Joe Ransom, who was the first ever person to use our latest product, the Gemini 2x1 Hard. We'll aim to keep the session short, so we will give you a quick overview of the product to start with, just a couple of minutes before we dive into what we know you've logged on to see, and that's the conversation with Joe about using it. We'll cover some questions at the end, but throughout the session, please feel free to put comments into the chat or questions into the box at the bottom of your screen. We have Simon from our marketing team behind the scenes, keeping an eye on things as we go through. So with that said, let me introduce Michael. Hi, Michael, and you can give us a quick overview of the product.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you very much. It's great to be here talking about this product, which has been in development for some time now, and it's quite remarkable that we're at the point of launch and we've had this tremendous reception from the product. I imagine most people sort of listening right now or listening on the recording, whatever, will have some kind of familiarity with the specifications or the product in some way. But just as a very kind of quick overview of where we're at with it at the moment, it's it really is. Whilst it is an evolution of our 2x1 series, it is a huge step forwards in what we've been able to achieve from a cinema lighting product, and in terms of what it provides the end user and the versatility and the options of lighting. So it's still that tried and trusted 2x1 form factor, RGB WW LED panel. But what's different from the 2x1 soft that you may well already be familiar with is that this one has removable diffusion and you have a 20-degree beam angle. This is slightly different from the 1x1 hard, which we launched just over a year ago, which had a slightly wider 40-degree beam angle. And the reason that we've narrowed it even more is this product is squarely aimed at sophisticated high-end users that are very comfortable manipulating light to achieve their desired looks. And what this gives is an output of over 23,000 lux at 3 meters or 10 feet in 5600K, which makes it, as you can see at the top, both the brightest and the lightest panel or 2x1 panel available on the market. Is significantly brighter than anything else out there. And as I mentioned, when you have higher output, it gives you more versatility, whether you want to bounce it or put it through multiple layers of diffusion, whatever it is you want to do. The central point of this product is to give a load more intensity that can be diffused back as necessary. And to help with that, it comes with 2 diffusers as standard. The ultralight diffuser, which is the same sort of transmission ratio level as the 1x1 hard ultralight diffuser. And we also have the dome diffuser that sits in front of that as well. So straight out of the box, you can have the light raw, you can have it ultralight diffused, you can just have the dome, or you can already have 2 different layers of diffusion through it as well. So straight out the box, you've already got a load of different options that you can use. As standard with any Litepanels product, it is extremely accurate with its white light, CRI of 95 and TLCI of 97. And again, a central tenet of what we do with Litepanels products is we make them flicker free. Any frame rate, any shutter angle, anything like that. That it's not that we are good at hiding our flicker, it's that the way that we design our electronics, there is no flicker at all, right down to 0.1. It's no matter how high your frame rate is. It's something that we invest heavily in because we understand how beneficial it is to not have to continually sort of make lots of adjustments to your lighting and put it into high speed mode because you've gone up frame rates, whatever it is. The whole point is that it makes it a very, very simple and straightforward tool to use, right from 0.1% up to that 23,000 lux at 3 meters. I think one of the major achievements of this product is giving such high output, but also managing to keep the weight so low. It only weighs just over 25 pounds or 11.5 kilos. And again, not only is it the brightest, it is considerably lighter than anything else comparable to it in the market. And as has become necessary with lots of different types of products nowadays, it's got integrated DMX, RDM, and CRMX control. And when we talk about output, it's not just the white light output. I mean, you get over 10,000 lux at 3 meters in just pure green. On this, the saturated color that comes out of it is what is frequently the most commented on sort of attribute of the product. And finally, you know, this is designed for set life. This is designed for rental house life. You know, it knows this is not going to have an easy time of it, and it's, you know, high quality aluminium housing. And you know, a question that we often got about the 1x1 hard, and this is true with the 2x1 hard as well, is when you remove that diffusion, oh, you know, are the LEDs protected? And the answer is yes. They have those same impact resistant polycarbonate lenses that sit across the front that you can see on the left hand side here. And, like, you know, don't get me wrong, you know, it's not something that is you know, is completely sort of you can't destroy it, but it's not a vulnerable point because of that protection that's been put there. So that is, you know, very, very sort of brief overview of the product. And so we're now going to take a little look at the launch film that was created for it, and we'll find out a little bit more how Joe used the fixture to achieve these results.
Well, thanks for the product overview, Michael. I think I can speak for both of us when I say we were very excited to see that content come back for the launch. So I'm delighted that we can be joined by Joe Ransom, who, after working with us on the 1x1 hard launch film, was crazy enough to step up to the plate again and produce that epic film for the 2x1 hard. Hi Joe, how are you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good, thanks. I mean, as Michael said, the 2x1 hard isn't just twice the size of the 1x1 hard. It's got much greater output and added functionality. So when we were thinking about the launch content, we wanted to reflect that it would be used in much larger banks of fixtures for larger productions, and sort of reflect what was good about and the impact it could have on those productions, and already is actually, in fact, now it's been launched. So Joe, do you want to give us, to start with, just a quick overview of what our brief was, and then how you developed the idea for the final content from that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so to be honest, the brief was very open. I think you guys sort of wanted me to come at you with a creative that worked for the lamp. We wanted to approach the film in a very different way to the 1x1 hard. We knew with the 1x1 hard, we were trying to appeal to the consumer, someone that might have one or two in the back of their van, or someone that might take one in a smaller sort of like videographer sort of setup. And we knew for the 2x1 hard, we'd be talking to a very different higher end market, like you mentioned, the rental houses, people that might stock 50 units or whatever for people like me to be able to rent out and get onto slightly bigger sets. But we're also really keen not to just do what had been done before. I know initially one of the things you guys mentioned was, oh, it'd be great to get like a fully DMX ceiling of 2x1 lamps over the top, and we can do whatever with that. And I was thinking, yeah, that's cool, but people have been doing that for a number of years already. So I wanted to do something that made the light the hero of the piece, something that could only be done with that light. So it was about finding a creative that worked with the light. Yeah, that way around, I guess.
Yeah, like you say, we were quite open, and then you steered us away from what could have been a more boring, shall I say, standard kind of piece of work to something that showed the kind of uniqueness of the product, which is great.
I guess when we were thinking about that, it was very much like, if you are going to do that and you are going to show like a wall of LED panels or a ceiling of LED panels, you straight away need a big set to light or a reason for that to sort of exist. Whereas actually what we did, we made the light become our set. So we stripped everything away apart from these 3 silks and these 3 performers, and that was it. And then actually we'll touch on this later on, I guess, but we did also then introduce the panel lights themselves in the back of shot, which gave us a really nice focal point, but it was a way of sort of like not crowbarring the lights in there. They were there very much for a reason, but they're in the back of shot to be seen, but not in an offensive way.
Yeah, like you say, it saved us on set costs as well. It's important from a budget point of view.
Absolutely.
I actually think that's a really good point, because where we actually did the filming originally was essentially a very large, empty, deserted space. And that it was extremely minimalist. I mean, we can talk about some of the detail, like with the girders and how they were used later on. But to your point, Joe, about making the light the center of it, you know, we were in this enormous warehouse where they used to make airships out, you know, just north of London. And yeah, there you go, perfect. And the whole point was it was just absolutely enormous. There was nothing in there but these lights, these 3 performers. And I think that's what made it work so well, that you can see them in the vastness of this environment. And they very much
we had
become the center of it.
Yeah, we had to step it up, because obviously the 1x1 hards sort of exists and people know what that could do. So we needed the space to be large. We needed to showcase 2x1 hards in a huge space. And so, I mean, I remember standing there with you, Michael, on the first day and just shooting one into the roof that's something like 180 feet high and it reaching the roof, and both of us just being like, okay, we're going to be okay. But let's not forget, let's not forget that I didn't have the fixtures until we started shooting on our first day was the Tuesday. I think we had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we were on set, and the lights literally came from your warehouse on the Tuesday morning, and that was the first time that I'd see. Oh, that's a lie. You did.
Yeah, no, you always complain about this, but you had one in your kitchen for a week.
You gave me one, and my boy played with it, and that turned it different colors, and he loved that. But in my kitchen, it was the first time we'd actually put it through its paces in an actual space in a studio. So, you know, I had no idea other than the theory behind it, whether this thing was going to work and whether we were going to get what we needed out of these lamps. But and I remember standing with you with that one lamp and just being like, okay, fine, let's get them in the boxes and see what we get.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at some of the more specific setups. And the one that is, you know, one of the most striking images, and I think that is the background of every computer within Litepanels at least, is this tunnels of light image that we've got, where we have these 3. There we go. Yeah, we have these 3 very, very large, like great big shafts of light with these silks coming down between them. And I remember you trying to pitch this concept to us, and you know, Ginny and I, not especially creative sorts, took us a little time to wrap our heads around it ultimately. But when you were conceptualizing this, what was the key thought? What was the driver behind this particular scene?
Well, that is exactly it. So these are my 3 hard boxes, not to be confused with soft boxes that they kept on getting called. I was like, no, these are hard boxes. It's a complete different setup. But I mean, like I said, they formed the basis of our creative, and we wanted to show that with an LED panel light, you could have something that packs enough punch at 50 foot up in the air that gives you a hard directional source of light that's fully controllable via DMX, and you can do what you want with it. Obviously, in this image here, there's no haze pumped in the space, so you can't actually see those tunnels or whatever. But you saw it in the film that we just played. And again, going back to that, there was lots of, there we go, thank you. So there's lots of ideas around how we make that happen. Like you can see how big those boxes are. I think it's something like 10 foot drop of black all the way around, and then we used Corex in the middle to create our own sort of egg crates that dropped all the way down, and then we had these little sort of like end caps as well to give it even more shape. You can really see in that image there how sort of directional and how hard those lines are, which is really, really nice. So you've got the performer completely lit and then complete blackness just off of there. So it worked amazingly. It worked.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, you had a lot of them in there. I think it said 22 2x1 hards in each one. But I mean, would there have been an alternative fixture that you would have used for something like this? Is there something else that you would have used before this product became available, or would you not have attempted it in this kind of setup previously?
So just to touch on that with the 22 as well, like the reason, there's a couple of reasons. I wanted to make the boxes 12 by 12 so we could use existing diffusion and silks or whatever if we needed to or chose to. We knew that they would fit. So we made the boxes 12 by 12, and again, we didn't know whether we wanted to make them slightly bigger. We didn't know how far apart we wanted them. It was all sort of like just lots of scribbling and working out how that would sit in the space. And why 22 fixtures? The reason for 22 fixtures is because we were maximizing our fixtures. You guys gave us 100 fixtures to play with, which is a lot, but we had 22 in each box, and then we had X amount, I think eight behind on the ladder truss just behind, and then we had a couple floating. So we were limited as well to 22. So again, it reminded me of when we did the one by one, and it's very much like these are the lights that you can get. And I remember just like maximizing it and knowing that I had no more on the truck that I could pull out. So you had to make it work, and it was very much the same here. But in terms of like another fixture that would do the same thing, they're genuinely, in my opinion, and having chatted to a fair few other gaffers about this and cinematographers, there isn't another lamp that could do this, or not do it in the same way. You're not going to get the punch or the direction from a panel that's soft. If I had to choose another lamp, it would genuinely be the 1x1 hard, because I think that's the closest thing to it, and make that work, which obviously would be harder for a number of reasons. I guess if you were to shoot, some mole beams through there, like some big mole beams, but again, then you're not looking at RGB, you're looking at a completely different rigging with the weight that they bring with it, the size of them. It's just not right. It's not practical. So the fact that you can rig these things with a single barrel clamp, and they're 12 kg each or whatever it is, and you can get 22 of them up on 4 chain hoists and things. It's just the right thing, and then to put them all back into the desk and have that that DMX control is perfect.
Can I just say that 100 units, sorry, Michael, I was just going to drop in that 100 units sounded like a lot until we pulled up to Cardington Studios, at which point I thought maybe we should just turn around.
And it's funny you should mention that, because that's exactly the same thing came into my mind when we did initially speak about these, the ceiling of light, and 100. If we put 100 units up in Cardington, you're not even scratching the surface. It's not going to do anything. Like you want 10,000 units in there. It's like ridiculously huge. So again, that was a happy accident that we avoided that as well.
Another thing that I remember, particularly for this scene, that we did undercook at the time was the Haze requirement as well. I think it was Toby. He was over off at the side. He had one Haze machine, and it had such a vast distance to cover. It took like half an hour for it actually to get, because it was all just hitting the first box and then stopping. Yeah. Just had to keep moving and moving and moving. But it's when you had that Haze there that you could see that channel of light working so strongly like that as well.
Yeah, there were lots of chants of we need some more Haze in here, all over the studio constantly. I think we ended up sort of tripling our our Haze budget, I think, but it worked, and it's
it worked.
we got that.
We've got these tremendous images, and it's wonderful the way you get that cut off at the bottom there, just like that. It worked absolutely perfectly. I know that is not a heavily saturated blue, but even the depth of the color, even at that stage, and the throw of that much color through all that diffusion still over that distance, is a real testament to just how much blue light you can even get out of these fixtures.
Yeah, and I just touching one more thing on this that I sort of remember is, again, like lying awake thinking about this, oh, how hot are they going to be at the top of the silk compared to how much fall off we're going to get at the bottom and all that. And so it's like, do we put the dome diffusers in? Do we not? Do we have a single layer of silk? Do we not? Like, how do we run this? And we had no time to make tweaks whatsoever. I mean, I was stood there with you guys at maybe 5 or 6 p.m. on day one, which was the pre-light day, which is just bonkers to think of what we sort of rigged in that one day. And we weren't really getting where I needed to be. And then, me and Nuno and Toby went away and scratched our heads and thought about how we can change, what sort of small little tweaks can we do to get to where we need. And this is, I think, where those end sort of cap, that idea was born, and one of the runners was off to B&Q or Wix or something to pick up a load of Coro. But yeah, this was very much like a test for us as well. Like it wasn't it was putting to the light through its paces. It wasn't supposed to be the perfect finished commercial or whatever at all. It was very much like, let's see what this light can do, and let's try and put it through its paces, and let's push it as hard as we possibly can in 3 days in this incredible studio with this incredible crew. And I think we achieved something really special. But let's not forget that this wasn't supposed to be the hero film. The hero film was supposed to be the behind the scenes film, showing the scale, showing the scene, showing all that sort of stuff. I was always going to make a commercial that would be a really happy byproduct of that, but I'm really proud that actually the byproduct, the thing that wasn't actually that important on the day, which was this commercial, was actually turned out to be something that is a real nice standalone piece.
Absolutely. And, you know, Ginny and I did it completely deliberately to give you no time whatsoever, because we know you work well under pressure. People's creativity comes out when they have very, very little time sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think it stands to how forgiving a fixture it is, you know, because you don't have to make tons of allowances for it, because it's an easy thing to work with. That fine, yeah, I mean, we probably could have given a bit more time in retrospect, but it didn't matter ultimately, because you want to put them up there, you want to rig them together. You know, you don't have heat limitation, you don't have weight limitations, you don't have, you know, all the other kinds of considerations that you'd have to make with so many other fixtures and power limitations or anything like that. It's like, okay, well, can I do that? Yes, you can do that with it. It's going to be absolutely fine. I suppose we can look at that even more closely for one of the final scenes later on. But moving on from the tunnels of light, I always enjoy talking about the tunnels of light. I guess it's just worth just mentioning, I did touch on it, but those backlights, again, that was something that came to the sort of party a little bit late. Initially, it was supposed to just be these 3 hard tunnels, and then, like I touched on earlier, I thought it'd be really lovely to be able to get the lamps in shot, but not being offensively just in shot. And also, it gave us like another dimension, another look to play with, like these hard backlights in comparison of just all being like top lit, and we had these amazing sort of like silhouette moments, and we were able to play between the two. Elliot on the desk was just insane. He was like a kid in a sweet shop, really, like with the amount of fixtures that he had, and he was able to play with, and he was dialing in, you know, looks and chases for fun. So, you know, we were able to play with all the color, play with like just lighting from the back, playing with just lighting from the outside, just with the top one single tunnel, all this sort of stuff. And yeah, and that was a late addition that I think was such a lovely addition. Absolutely. So we let's move from the hard boxes to the giant soft box as well. And this was, you know, this was probably one of the few bits of direction that Ginny and I did actually give on this shoot, was that we did want to have this large softbox. And one of the reasons was because we want to present this as a high-end cine light. And, you know, high-end cine has very large softboxes. We want to show that you can make these large softboxes because of the output that you get out of them. But actually what you did and how you manipulated the hard boxes into the softbox is quite interesting as well. It wasn't a complete re-rig. It was a relative, not minor, but it was an adjustment of what you already had.
The truth be told, there was just no time for a re-rig.
If Joe.
Yeah. if I was to just approach this as just a softbox with however, you know, just that as our setup, and we had, you know, 2 days to do that, then of course I'd have a 20 by up there and we'd fill that with lights, and we'd play with whatever we wanted to do. We'd play with like some harder sort of 100% dim in the middle, and then make them sort of like sporadically go out. So you've got, as you get to the edge, you've got down to 0%, and you've got that amazing fall off naturally. Like there's loads of things we could have done with the softbox, but we didn't have time. So the idea and the thing that we decided to do was quickly pull down the 2 outside tunnels, and then bring down the middle tunnel as well, strip the outside tunnel so we could repurpose those lights for the 3rd and final setup, and then make this middle tunnel our softbox. So we basically made, from the one box that we had that was a 12 by, we created this sort of pyramid effect, which stepped it out from a 12-foot to a 20-foot box, for the same reason. So I could use 20 by silks underneath, and I could use 12 by silks in the middle and on the top, so they all worked without having to manipulate them too much. But obviously the reason for this setup was the fact that it's to show you can make a hard source soft, but you can't make a soft source hard. And that's the reason for using the 2x1 hards in this softbox. and to be able to like chuck all those layers of diffusion in there. I'm a huge fan of diffusing, triple diffusing, bouncing, like however many times, however many layers of diffusion I can get into something. I absolutely love it, and I love lighting like that really, really softly. And so I got just carried away, and I was like, yeah, add another layer, add another layer, add another layer. You know, we could have added another two, but like it was incredible. I can't remember what level we were running the lamps at from above. But what I do remember is like stepping under there for the first time, and you've got you were getting this amazing sort of like bounce back off the floor and everything. And I had a couple of quad arrays and dual arrays dotted around that I thought, oh, we can use those if we need something in the eye or whatever. And we just didn't need anything else. It was just the quality of light was really, really sensational underneath that.
And I think it looked just especially dramatic as well, because again, you're in this insane environment where you've got these enormous studios, and you know, when you're inside, even in the middle of the day, it is completely pitch black in there when you like killed all the overhead lighting, and then you just had this wonderful, and it's just, you know, the quality of the light, it just had this tremendous sort of ethereal kind of feel about it, particularly with the two performers walking in and out of it like that. Yeah, it was such a great shot with the steady cam there as well. It's wonderful. And you see that drop off into the darkness behind it as well. This is, I mean, they're all my favorite photos. Like each one, the last one I saw, whichever it is, that's my favorite photo. But it's that drop off and that sense of just sort of like just darkness behind it as well, which is absolutely tremendous. And you know, when you're shooting something like this, I mean, to you as you know, as a DOP, how important is the quality of the light? You know, when you're looking to render the skin tones. Well,
of course, you need skin tones to look authentic and correct, and you don't want to see the you know, that stigma that's attached to lighting with LED and having that, you know, the green hue or whatever, it feeling not as nice quality as like lighting with tungsten or with HMI or whatever. And for me, we had that in abundance. Like it was so flattering, it was so beautiful, but you've also then got the ability to just tweak however you want the color from above, the saturation, whatever you want to do, you can do all that really, really easy from the board. So yeah, I think they behaved incredibly well. They look really, really nice. I really can't fault them. It sounds like I'm here as like a, you know, massive like advocate, but it's just because I am an advocate. I am. That's true. But it's but they just work, and there's so many reasons for it. But yeah, we definitely got lucky as well with lots of things. Like lots of things happened that were that fell the right way, and that, you know, like for example the floor that we were performing on, the fact that we got that nice little bounce back up, and you have to have those sorts of things when you don't have loads and loads of time on your side, and it just works. Love it.
Excellent.
Talking of time, how were the lights to rig? Because again, in the softbox, you had the bank of lights at the back, like you had the vertical banks in the tunnels. How was the rigging of the fixture in general?
Again, the fact what I touched on earlier with the fact that you can rig these with a single barrel clamp, you're not getting into any sort of like weight restrictions. So again, with those, it was a clever little thing where we had the 3 vertical banks of 8 lights, one behind each hard tunnel, that we then basically dropped down, brought together, flipped them horizontally, bolted them all together, and then straight away they were all sort of like still in the desk, and it gave us a completely different look and setup and everything. You got that amazing shot, which I love, of him, the opening shot of him walking out from these lights as they sort of like clonk on. So yeah, there's so many benefits to using these, but the weight, the built-in ballast, the rigging ability. Again, what other light would you use to do that? I don't think there is one.
So let's move on to the final sort of key scene from this, which was the with all the steel girders that we mentioned earlier, which are kind of just running down the perimeter of Cardington. So they're already set up for us. And what do we call this? This was the
Forest of Steel.
Forest of
Steel. Yeah, sorry, I always forget that one. But I mean, Joe, I think I remember you saying that when you suggested that you wanted to shoot in this particular area, this is not something that is ordinarily used for filming within Cardington.
Yeah, this was something that was probably the most. I mean, I say that again about every setup as well, Michael, I'm afraid, but yeah, it's probably the most exciting one. And the reason being is because obviously Cardington is normally home to big set builds in the main space because you've got the height, you've got the space, you've got the power. It's incredible. This is like a little space off to the side where they normally stuff production or costume or whatever. And me and Arthur, the co-director, like we saw this space on the first sort of recce, and we were like, wow, I bet nobody's ever shot here before. And, you know, after chatting to the studio manager and things, she was like, no, people don't use that. And we're like, okay, can we like maybe do that? And she's like, well, sure, if you want to use that, like fine. And this sort of setup reminded me of something that I was trying to achieve, similar to the motorbike chase scene on the dual carriageway of the 1x1 hard, where we found a derelict bit of road and we had the 1x1s rigged on the top of the lampposts, and we just sort of hit them sodium, and we sort of like saw what they could do. And again, they blew my mind because like, okay, wow, we don't need any fill or anything from anywhere else. It's like, this has given us enough. Similarly to these, I wanted to show them in their bags and like show them diffused, but also quite sort of like spotty and hard. So we started rigging these. We chose where we wanted to rig them, and we just turned them on, and we were like, okay, well, that's literally perfect. I think they're all 100% with their, like, you know, their layers of diffusion within them. I remember just sort of like running my fist underneath going, okay, well, that's going to be nice. And then we were like suddenly into this like puddle of darkness, and then back into this puddle of light. And it just worked. Funny enough, someone messaged me on Instagram about this and said, cool, so what was the VFX budget on your shoot? And I was like, what do you mean? They said that just goes on forever. And I was like, no, that was my guys up on cherry pickers, and like, yeah, it was they're all there. So that's why we had to repurpose those outside tunnels and take all those lights. But again, the lighting team did an incredible job, and just sort of like they were busy working away with this while we were overdoing all the softbox stuff.
Yeah, and of course, not being content with this beautiful run of lights down this tremendous little corridor area, we all felt it necessary that we needed to kind of take it a level up to really demonstrate some of the unique qualities of the 2x1 hard. So how was that achieved, Joe? What did we decide to do?
Well, we got into Cardington, and you've seen this, you know, you've seen the ceiling height and everything, and obviously your mind just goes to drones straight away, and you go, well, of course, like, we want to put a light on the drone. That's going to be fun. It's showcase how versatile it is, how lightweight it is. The fact how can we show the battery power? There we go. Like, we chuck two of these batteries on, and you can run a 2x1 hard with these 26-volt batteries. And it was just a clever little segue into using to showcasing that, but actually in a way, again, which is what I tried to do with all these things, in a way that was authentic, and you would actually want to use, whether it was to use it as a helicopter searchlight or whatever it was. And for us, it was to get these moving shadows. So it was this moment of turning all those top lights off and suddenly just having this incredible space, this vast space lit with just one 2x1 hard. And when our amazing performer sort of comes to a stop and is just sort of like walking towards the camera, her dance stops, and then the dancing of the shadows continues, and you've got these amazing moments of you know, the shadows, the long shadows sort of drifting and dancing across her face, and it's just incredible. I remember, like, again, we were all sat in Video Village watching this, just going, this is just a commercial. Like, wow. Like, Rebecca, she was absolutely incredible. It was just, we're like, so what are you going to do? Like, we want you to do like this floor routine for us. And she was like, cool, I've worked on something. Shall we show you? We're like, yeah. And she just did it. And we're like, okay, let's shoot it. let's shoot it. And yeah, again, we could have spent all day, and we knew that we needed 5-10 seconds of it for us. But it's just absolutely stunning. She was stunning.
Absolutely.
And actually putting the light on the drone was probably the least of the worries, it turned out, because I mean, you had someone create a custom rig for that. But then when we got to Cardington, you were a bit concerned about whether the drone would actually fly.
Yeah. So it was Steve Peters, with my drone pilot, who's been a friend for many, many years and is one of the best in the business. And he built this custom landing gear. I think we sent him a 2x1 soft initially, just so he could get sort of like the sort of vague measurements. And he came to set or came to Cardington, and we were chatting to maybe the riggers. Yeah, the riggers. And they said something, oh yeah, we had what was it? some fashion brand, big fashion brand, in here last week, and all the drones, because of the metal interference, all the drones are just smashing into the walls and they're all crashing. And Steve was there for this, and he was just sort of like looking at me going like, don't worry, like we're going to be all right. And it didn't seem to bother him at all. And I remember chatting with Arthur, and we were like, well, maybe maybe one of us can hang out the sunroof of a car and we'll zip past, or we'll chuck Toby on a cherry picker to zoom past, or whatever it was going to be. And we had all these different ideas that we were going to do. And we were thinking we'll fake it, and we can show this one picture and then we'll fake it. And Steve I remember we were all doing something, looking at something else, and Steve just like, out of the corner of our eye, this drone just goes up and it's lights flying around it, and we're like, okay, well, let's do this then. And it worked beautifully. So again, it was an amazing thing that can actually be used like practically. So yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it was one of those things where we wanted to really show off how lightweight it is. So, that's a cool way of doing it. But then actually, it was like, no, this has some genuine practical application now, especially with the battery powers on it as well. And I personally am very glad we didn't put Toby on a cherry picker to zoom past.
not as glad as Toby.
No, true. But so whether it was because of course we have the integrated CRMX now, so whether it was on the drone, whether it was on the separate battery powered quad arrays, or whether it was on the tunnel of steel, whatever it was, these are all being controlled by Elliot, your board up, correct? And he was kind of the master behind all that.
Yeah, there he is, and that was his little that's his DJ desk there, doing everything from there. But again, it was one of those things where we had to box really clever within the space. We had like hundreds, probably thousands of meters worth of cabling, and it's like working out, where does all the power go, where does all the DMX go, and where does it all work so it doesn't need to be repatched, because it was it needed to work across all of the different setups. So we had to think really, really cleverly about how we did that. So we sort of positioned Elliot somewhere in the middle, and I think we had to repo his desk slightly, but again, everything just about reached where he was and things. But yeah, I think we used, and you know more about this than I do, Mike. I don't pretend to be really technical when it comes to DMX and things. And but I think we used the existing profile from the 2x1 soft, which I think worked seamlessly. And like I said earlier, for me, it was just amazing just to be able to turn to my right and say, Elliot, can you show me just that on? Can you show me a chase that comes down as so-and-so is falling down the, not falling, but performing down the silk and things like that. And sure enough, it was, he's like, yeah, give me 15 seconds, and it'll be done. Yeah. I do. Yeah. I mean, one thing to sort of note as well on this is that, again, we could do whatever we wanted with regards to color and saturation, but there's lots of times where I would just find myself coming back to just like tungsten. I remember the tunnel, we were thinking we'd go sodium, or we might go a bit more blue, but then we ended up going a bit more blue on the hard tunnel. So we were like, oh, maybe we'll look at like sodium under there. And I think we had a look, and then again, me and Arthur were just like, should we just look at tungsten? It just looks so beautiful. Like, let's just do that. And it's not like, it's one of those things that and I remember having the conversation. I was like, guys, like we don't need to show that the light can do saturated colors or whatever. Like the people that we're talking to know that, they get that or whatever. So let's do what we would actually do. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice not to be governed by trying to showcase all the features and benefits. It was just like, no, let's just do something that's cool and works and looks great.
Yeah, no, absolutely, completely agree. Well, Ginny, unless you have anything else at this point, I think we should
probably... No, I don't. I'm just going to say, I think we got Toby, who must be with us today, is in chat. So a call out to Idris and Elliot for coiling all the cable on wrap. But I think really I'd do a call out to the whole crew, because they were absolutely awesome. It was freezing in Cardington. That's the thing you can't see. But it was a very cold few days. And everyone...
Yeah, that's not Haze. That's just my breath.
Yeah.
So yeah, should we move on to questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a couple of product ones for you first, Michael. So first of all, is the 2x1 hard compatible with the 2x1 soft accessories? So,
yeah, absolutely. We didn't want to be that kind of company that brings out a new product and makes you buy all the new supporting accessories as well. We don't want that to be a barrier for people. So yes, if you've previously purchased 2x1 softs and their accessories, they're all backwards compatible with the new 2x1 hard as well. I mean, the only caveat to that is there is now a new Softbox which is ever so slightly different because it's got an internal baffle, which just helps sort of push the light to the corners because it's that slightly more focused beam angle. But other than that, yeah, everything is completely compatible.
Cool. And no plans to discontinue the soft, though? That was another question.
No. They operate alongside each other. They're different tools for different operations, I suppose. If you really need the high output, the 2x1 hard is there for all the versatility that it offers. But we still see plenty of applications that will be satisfied by the 2x1 soft anyway. So no, we're going to run them both concurrently.
Cool. Joe, question for you. Why did you decide to shoot the entire commercial indoors? Were there limitations to shooting any outdoor scenes?
Great question. Absolutely not. I mean, we actually had we actually wrote a scene that was for an exterior. We lined up the location and everything. We had planned to do a unit move and go over to a local village that was close to Cardington. We'd set up this incredible old church, and we were going to do some of the performance elements in this church at night. We're going to do a bit of a night shoot, and we were going to pump some of these, like a quad array, through some of these stained glass windows and show again the battery power, the flexibility, the versatility, the fact that you could be on location in a quiet village at night and you're not running a generator, you're running everything on battery power, and it's, you're not really offending anyone, and you're not needing to lug all this unnecessary equipment over to something. You can quite literally turn up with 4 of these, and we could have done it with 4 of those and a quad and a dual array. Was sort of my plan, was to just take that. But the reason we didn't do that is just because we just ran out of time. That was it. And I think we cut that scene almost in the PPM, or like maybe a week before that, where I remember just saying to you guys, like, we are stretching ourselves so thin, and we really did, and actually it was completely the right call, because I knew, again, that the people that we're trying to appeal to and the people that we're talking to, they know that we can do that. Like us putting the light on the drone with the batteries, that shows that that you can run one of these fixtures from battery. We don't really need to do a whole location bit. Of course, it would be nice. It's something that I'd like to do in the future, given the opportunity, but it just wasn't a necessity for this.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. It was definitely the right call.
Definitely, yeah, it was definitely. Yeah. And I suppose just to touch on that is that we did this whole thing in 3 days, including the rig, including the get out, which it still blows my mind to this point. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was stood there with a beer at 10 o'clock on most nights, like de-rigging things and getting stuck in. But again, so thanks to my incredible team for such an incredible job on this one.
And the final question I've got kind of links to that. Is just about how long will the light run on battery? So I guess that's one for you, Michael.
Yeah, if you want to put it on like a VCLX, a big sort of floor mounted battery like that, you'll get around an hour at pretty much just under full output. So that's a lot of light for a long time. You can run it off 2 26-volt batteries, like the 240 watt-hour ones, and you get a slight power limitation around sort of 85-86% of full output. So still a huge amount of output, and you'll get about 40-45 minutes out of that as well. So good useful life of battery power, and of course that's that's using a huge amount of it. Bring it down, you're going to get much longer than that. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, Toby's just messaged in to say, Joe, what's next with the 2x1 hard? He's obviously up for another challenge.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm waiting for you guys to get me some. They're like gold dust at the moment. You can't get your hands on them.
They are a little bit. Yeah.
But I remember saying again after the 1x1 hard launch, I remember saying, like, in fact, I remember being on set the following job and being like, okay, yeah, this is. Oh no, you're not on that job. You can't bring another one out of another one of those out the van. It's similar to the 2x1 hard. There's been so many times already on set where you'd be like, oh, that would be the perfect fixture if only we had that. So I'd love to do some more sort of like soul 2x1 hard productions and show what we can do and show how we can use it in different ways. Be really fun to start playing with mirrors with it as well, like with that punch, and seeing, like, you'd see what a single unit can do for us and how we split that. But yeah, as soon as you guys get me one, Toby, that'll be on every job.
Well, we thought we would have, a few around for you to use, but like you said, we had those 100 in for that, and as soon as we'd stopped using them, they disappeared off onto other jobs. So we've been scratching around for them ever since. Every time we get some.
I think they're going to be a really popular fixture in the industry, and yeah, I think we'll see lots and lots and lots of them on sets all over the place for as soon as you can get them.
Yeah,
certainly hope so.
Yeah, we're already starting to see that. So I think that's it for all the questions. So please stay around, everyone, because we're going to show the behind the scenes edit, which, as Joe said, was really one of the main focuses at the end. So please stay around to watch that. To keep up to date with everything Litepanels in general, please follow us on social media, or even better, come and see us at one of the in-person events that are going on around the world now. And we'd love you to come down, have a play with the Gemini 2x1 hard, see the output for yourselves. And if you're at Cinegear this week, please come and see us, stop by and see us there. So I think all I have to say is thank you to Joe for the conversation, and of course the commercial, all the content that you've produced for us. Most of all, thank you to everybody for joining us. We have another live stream on June 23rd. That's the next session in our lighting techniques series with Garrett Salmons. So please head over to the website and register for that, and we hope to see some of you there. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.